Hi, my name's Russell Stannard. I'm the founder of a website called teachertrainingvideos.com. National Geographic Learning have asked me to do some videos that look at their digital tools and digital platforms. And this is the second video that we've done. And in this second video, we're going to focus on how we can make use of the breakout rooms that are available in various tools like Zoom and Adobe Connect. How we can use these breakout rooms to make our lessons more teacher-centered. Now, what you're going to see during this presentation is that really the glue that makes those breakout rooms effective is to make use of the digital ebooks. National Geographic Learning have a range of digital ebooks, and if we take the content from these digital ebooks and use them when the students are working in breakout rooms, we can really make engaging lessons making use of lots of media. One of the most interesting things about working with Zoom is that we've got the opportunity to use breakout rooms, and the breakout rooms in Zoom work really well. However, there are a few technical things that we've got to get right to use the breakout rooms, and that's what we're going to focus on now. First of all, setting up the breakout rooms before you even open up Zoom, and then some of the things that you need to do when you're in Zoom to set up and run a breakout room. Now what we'll do is we'll actually do a live lesson, so you're really going to see me in one of my lessons using the breakout rooms to really understand how they work. So the first thing you need to do is to log into your Zoom account and come down to settings. From settings you need to scroll down, and you're actually looking not for the basic settings, but if you scroll down in any further, and you'll see there are quite a lot of settings, but in the advanced section the first setting, or in fact the second setting, is breakout room, and you need to have that activated. That way you will have the breakout button that will allow you to put your students into breakout rooms. So you can clearly see now at the bottom of the screen we have the breakout room button available. So if we hadn't set that before we came into the breakout room, then in fact that button wouldn't be there. So it's really important that we go to settings and turn breakout rooms on. Now to create breakout rooms we need to come down to here and click on this button. This is the key button because it's going to open up the breakout dialog box that will allow us to create our breakout rooms. Now at this stage we're going to jump over to a live lesson. I've clicked on the breakout room button and now a dialog box has opened up onto the screen, and I'm going to start to organize my students and put them into breakout rooms. So the first thing I'm going to do is choose the number of rooms, and I'm going to choose 8, and then all I need to do is click on create rooms, and that immediately puts the students into groups, but they won't actually go into the groups until I click on the open all rooms button. As soon as I click on that button, the students will start to be moved into their rooms. Now this is a big class, so actually this process is going to take a few seconds. Slowly now the students will leave the main room, and you can see them slowly disappearing from the screen, and they will be joining their other students in the breakout rooms. And I can see clearly now that all the breakout rooms have nearly been completed. Last one, and then I will be on my own in the main room. All of the students now have moved into breakout rooms. Now I can join any of the rooms by simply clicking on join, and if I click on that and say yes, now I'll be joining breakout room 1. So you've seen how easy it is for me to move students into groups. I can literally choose the number of rooms I want, click on the button, and the students will be moved into those rooms, and then I can begin to go in and join the different breakout rooms. And when a teacher moves into a breakout room, they can see exactly what's going on, they can hear, and they're actually part of that group. If I want to leave a breakout room, all I need to do is go down to the bottom, click on the breakout room button, and then click on leave, and simply leave that room. I will come back into the main room, and then I can choose to move into another room. So here I click on the leave button and leave the room. When you open up the breakout room dialog box, you may have noticed at the bottom that there is the opportunity to broadcast a message to all the students. Now, when I'm going to close the room and bring all the students back, then I normally send them a little message to say, okay, you've got a minute left. And that way they don't suddenly leave the room and are surprised that they're leaving the room. Rather, they've been warned by me because I've broadcast a message to all the groups. So we can see that I'm just writing out a message, and what I normally do is write a message to the students to tell them that I'm going to bring them back into the main room, simply so that they're not surprised that suddenly their discussion quickly comes to an end. And then all I need to do now to bring everybody back into the main room is to click on Close All Rooms. And you're now going to see me do that. I click on Close All Rooms, and the students will start to come back to the main room. Notice that this process isn't immediate. It will take up to a minute. So we've established how the breakout rooms work. But the question now is, when the students are in the breakout rooms, what are they going to share? What are they going to do? And this is where the ebook plays such an important role. Let's just think about that for a moment. Let me see if I can explain why the ebook is so important when we're working in breakout rooms. When the teacher moves students into breakout rooms, that means they're working separately from the teacher. And that means the only content that the students in the breakout room can share is the content that is available on their computers. The teacher is no longer in the room, so the teacher is unable to share their screen. So it's absolutely vital that at least one member of the group has access to the content that the teacher wants the students to focus on. So for example, in this breakout room here, we can see that student 1 is sharing their screen, and of course the rest of the students can see whatever student 1 is sharing. Now, because student 1 has access to the ebook, it means that student 1 can share videos, can share pictures, can share exercises, can share audio files, can share readings, etc. It really is a time saver because the teacher can simply tell at least one student in each group to open up their ebook, go to a certain page, and then the students can collaborate in doing that particular activity or listening to that audio or watching that video. So later we'll look in detail at this, but let's just quickly take a scenario. A student is working in a breakout room, so imagine that there's a group of 4 students in the breakout room. One of those students will need to screen share, will need to be able to find the content on the screen on their computer, share it, and then move to a particular activity that they want the students, or the teacher wants the students to do collaboratively. Perhaps it's to listen to an audio, for example.
Page 8, Exercise A.
Now, to do that, the student needs at least 2 clear skills. Number 1, the ability to screen share, and number 2, good knowledge of the ebook, how to navigate it and how to interact with the content. So one thing that's going to be absolutely vital is that the students know how to use their ebooks. They really need to know how to navigate through the ebook, and they need to know how to interact with the content. We've got an example of an ebook here, which is Pathways 2. I'm going to click on this book. It opens up and we get immediately the content here. So students need to be aware that they can jump to any of the units by simply clicking on it. Then they can jump to any of the sections within the unit by clicking on them. And then the students also need to understand that they can interact very simply with the content. So they can click here, for example, and play the audio.
Page 16, Exercises B and C.
And also that there are a variety of exercises that they can do as well. As I mentioned, it's vital that the students learn to use the ebook. And one thing that I often do, both with the ebook and with the course book, is that I set this up as a homework activity. I get the students to explore the ebook and answer a series of questions. Now, I've put 6 examples on the screen, but I'd often have between 10 and 15 questions that would really get the students to go through their ebook, find the answers to these questions, and obviously write the answers down. And in doing so, of course, they're practicing their English, but more importantly, in this case, they're becoming more familiar with the content of the ebook. So there's a variety of questions, and the questions do different things. So some of the questions are just to familiarize the students with the layout of the ebook and how to navigate to different pages. Other exercises or other questions are really there to get the students to specifically understand how to, for example, open up a listening exercise, how to play an audio file, or to understand where all the additional features are that the students can make use of. The result of this is that when you're working in the breakout rooms and you want the students to go to a specific page or a specific listening or to a specific section of the ebook, because they're familiar with the ebook and how it's structured and organized, they're going to find that very easy. The ebook really is a game changer for the teacher. The teacher can organize the students into breakout rooms, and as long as one member of the breakout room has access to their ebook, they can set up a whole range of collaborative activities around audio, around exercises, around vocabulary, etc. So for example, let's imagine I am in my breakout group. I've been designated as the person who's going to share their screen. I click on share screen. I go to my ebook. Don't forget that all the students in my breakout room will be able to see whatever is on my screen. I could then open up an activity. The activity will appear to all of the students in the group. I can play the audio. All the students will be able to hear the audio.
Page 16. Exercises B and C. A conversation about allergies.
Hey, Elena. How's it going?
The student could stop, rewind, play the audio again if the students in the group don't understand. Then they can discuss the answer together and then save that and exit. Now they could move out of the breakout room, or the teacher will move them out of the breakout room, and they can discuss as a class what they understood and what they think the correct answer is. So for breakout activities to work effectively, the teacher needs to do 2 things. First of all, train the students to screen share, and secondly, make the students aware of the ebook, how to navigate through the ebook, and how to access all the different activities within the ebook. Now, there are a number of settings that are really important when we're going to work with breakout rooms. We need to give the students the ability to screen share, and to do that we need to come down here, click on this button here, and choose advanced sharing options. First of all, we want to choose one participant can share at a time. So that always means that one member of each breakout room is able to share their screen. We want to make sure that both the host and the participants can share their screens. And finally, we want to make sure that only the host can intervene and screen share while someone else is screen sharing. If we have this set, then all the participants can be intervening and screen sharing at the same time, and that can really cause a lot of problems. So you want to make sure that that setting is only host. Okay, so we've covered quite a lot of material in this video. We've gone into detail about how breakout rooms work. We've looked at the importance of making sure that the students understand how to navigate all of the contents in the ebook, and we've also focused on the fact that whenever you want the students to work in breakout rooms, you need to turn on screen sharing, because obviously when they're in a breakout room they will need to screen share. Now we're going to continue the training and the focus on the breakout rooms. We're going to look more now at actually working with the materials, and we're also going to focus a little bit on how we get the students up to scratch with screen sharing. Screen sharing is not an easy thing to do. The students might be a little bit surprised at the beginning that when they move into the breakout rooms, they have to share their screens. And actually, without them being able to do that, then we are very limited in what we can do. So in the next part of this training, we're going to focus a little bit on activities that we can use to get the students screen sharing. And then we're going to look more specifically at the ebook and the types of activities that we can do with our students to create really engaging student focused sessions when we're working in the breakout rooms.